Spectacular. Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a food video. Going to look at two of my favorite Portuguese dishes. As you guys know, I've been coming to Portugal fairly regularly for the last 15 years or so, and these two dishes are my go-to dishes every time I come here. In fact, I would say they are in the top 5 dishes that I like the most here in Portugal. This one is a bacalhau dish or a cod dish. Bacalhau com migas is what it is called here. Special type of breadcrumbs on top. I'll explain that in a minute. And the second dish here, one of the classic dishes here in Portugal, porco alentajana, which is from the Alentajana region. And this one, not sure where it comes from, but very tasty. And in fact, I've only ever found this dish here in the town where I am currently, in the town of Peniche. But I'm sure that you can get this in other parts of Portugal as well. But I would say that out of the two, this is my favorite dish. And we'll have a look why in just a tick. Now I'm going to wash this down with a Portuguese white wine that I got from the supermarket. So nothing special when it comes to the white wine today. Around €3.50, I think it was. And it's called Alentajana, and it's also from the Alentajana region, which is a very important wine-producing region here in Portugal. So a food-producing region and a wine-producing region is the Alentajana area of Portugal. Now, I'm going to pour a little bit of wine just to wet my taste buds, straight out of the fridge. And I'm going to be honest, I like Portuguese white wines, and I like Portuguese red wines too. So being a wine fan, Portugal is a country that satisfies my need for decent wine. So let's try this one. Quite crisp. And as I said, for €3.50, which I think that bottle of wine cost, a decent quality wine. And that's one of the pros of Portugal, in my opinion. If you like red and white wine, rosé wine as well, is that you can get decent bottles of white for less than €5, decent bottles of red for less than €10, and rosés for around that €4-5 mark as well are fairly decent. So let's get stuck into the food. Now I've only got small plates here today because I don't want to eat too much. So I'm going to put this on the plate. Now let's dig in and see what we've got here. Well, we've got breadcrumbs. These are corn breadcrumbs. Cornbread in Portugal, quite popular. You'll see it in supermarkets and also in bakeries and coffee shops where they sell bread. So you can buy cornbread fairly easily here in Portugal. And that's on top of this dish. And if we dig in to what's actually inside the dish, we can see that we have bacalhau or cod, which is a staple here in Portugal. There's hundreds of cod dishes, but this would be right up there with my favorite cod dishes. We've also got this green ingredient here, which are turnip greens, grelos in Portuguese and grelos in Spanish. In Spain, you'll find turnip greens in quite a lot of dishes that come out of the Galicia area up there in the northwest of Spain. And here in Portugal too, quite a lot of dishes with turnip greens or grelos. Bacalhau, as I said. We've also got garlic in here. And when I have a taste in a minute, we'll see if we can find some of the other tastes in this dish. So let's put a little bit on the plate. Let's get a little bit of cod. Let's get some of those turnip greens on there as well. Let's get a decent piece of cod on the plate. We'll also get some breadcrumbs, because what would this dish be without the breadcrumbs? And let's dig into this. So first thing I'm going to try is the turnip green with a little bit of cod. Very good. Garlic coming through. Quite strong in garlic. So I think the way they cook this dish is that they bake the cod in an oven. I think that's what happens. Then they break down the breadcrumbs from that cornbread, mix it in with these turnip greens, which I imagine have been boiled previously. Garlic in here as well. Salt from the cod, because as we know, salted cod, one of the main ingredients of Portuguese cuisine. And the breadcrumbs, as I said, which are crunchy. And I'll have a little bit more of this. So, very, very nice. And a good quality cod. Now, one of the things that I've found out eating cod over the years here in Portugal is that it's not easy to get it perfect. Of course, cod comes salted. It's a salted fish, obviously because it lasts a lot longer if it is salted. And then you have to desalinate the fish by putting it in water, and sometimes restaurants don't get it exactly right. Sometimes it has no taste at all, sometimes it's too salty, but this cod here, absolutely perfect. Now I'll just dig in for a little bit more, because as I said, this is one of my favorite dishes in Portugal. Bacalhau com migas, or cod with breadcrumbs, corn breadcrumbs. Fantastic. And if you travel to Portugal, look out for this dish. You will not be disappointed. Wash it down with a nice white wine or red wine or rosé, whatever you fancy. This dish will go down a treat on any occasion, in my opinion, of course. Now, I'm just going to put this over here, get this one out of the way, and I'm going to dig into this next Portuguese classic, which is the porco alentajana. You've got pork, which has been marinated previously. I'll go through the ingredients in a minute. We've got fried potatoes, and we've also got clams. Now, what have we got in this dish? Well, apart from those three main ingredients, pork, potatoes, and clams, we've got coriander as well, cilantro, if you call it that wherever you come from, or coentros as they are called here in Portugal. We've got some olives, and we've got some other vegetables in here, some pickled vegetables, and funnily enough, in Portugal they call them pickles as well. Now let's get some of this on the plate. Let's get some of the pork, let's get some of the clams. You can hear those clams hitting the plate. Get some pickles on there as well, and also a couple of these fried potatoes, which fundamental in this dish too. Now there's another version of this dish without the clams, which is called porco a portuguesa, I think. Very, very similar. The pork is cooked in exactly the same way. I think it has the fried potatoes as well, but the only thing missing is the clams. But in the alentajana version, you get clams. Now let's have a look at the pork. Let me try some of this pork first. Quite lean pork, not too fatty, which is good. Let me try one here with a clam as well, and a potato or a chip. Very, very tasty. Now, the main ingredients of this dish. So the pork is marinated firstly. Not sure how long they marinate the pork for. Perhaps overnight, don't know. If you go into butcher shops here in Portugal, you'll quite often see this pork mix sitting there, which you can buy ready-made. And as I said, it marinates for some time in white wine, also with a couple of bay leaves thrown in there, and also a very important ingredient, which I've only seen here in Portugal, which is like a paprika paste, a very thick paprika paste, and all of those things mixed together, sits overnight or for a few hours at least, and then it's ready to go into the frying pan or the saucepan or however they cook it. Then of course at the end they add the clams open, and you get this fantastic dish of meat and clams, which as I said, in my top 5 along with this one here of foods to eat here in Portugal. Just going to have a little bit more. Get one of those pickles on the plate as well. I've got pickled carrot and pickled cauliflower, so let me try that. A little bit more because I absolutely love this pork. And a couple of the chips to finish off with. Spectacular. So there you have it, probably my 2 favorite Portuguese dishes of all time. And if they're not my favorite 2, they're definitely in the top 5 of the foods that I like to eat when I come to this country, Portugal, and to this area of Portugal, which is on the Silver Coast. Very nice part of the country, and I recommend it should you be traveling around Portugal, or if you come to Spain, head over to Portugal as well. Wash it down with one of these fantastic local white wines from the Alentejo region. White wine, red wine, rosé, whatever takes your fancy, you can wash it down with a fantastic Portuguese wine. And as I always say, if you're in a country that produces wine, always the best idea to drink the local wines. It doesn't have to be expensive. If you want to spend more, you can, but I never spend more than 10 euros for a wine in this country. Whites, less than 5, reds, less than 10, and rosés around that 3, 4, 5 euro mark as well. So, wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. If you have tried either of these two dishes. Let me know what you think, whether it's the porco alentajana or whether it's the bacalhau com migas, the cod with breadcrumbs. Let me know, and if you're going to come to Portugal, look out for these two dishes. You won't be disappointed. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Bon appetit, até logo.